So now that we've talked a little bit about how to get physical in general, let's talk about a specific physical move, the kiss, which highlights a lot of those principles, but also does break some of the rules because it's a bit of a special case. Okay, why is kissing a special case? Well, I talked earlier about invisible escalation, about making tiny moves. And the thing with invisible escalation is no one move is super important. No one move seems to matter all that much. Like if she, doesn't hug you, you can always just like hold her hand instead. Or if she doesn't like, take your hand one time, you can always like give her a hug, right? There's all these different things you can do. And so there's a lot of variety, and no one move matters. The kiss, for whatever reason, has huge cultural significance. It indicates like we're together, we've decided we like each other, etc. So for that reason, it's one of those moves that you want to specifically do it, as opposed to sort of like generally maybe do it. And you want to be sure like not to get rejected when you do it, right? Ideally, you'd like it to go over successfully because that does a lot for the overall vibe of the interaction. Okay, so those are the reasons why kissing's a little bit special. It's also a bit of like a strong move, as opposed to it's hard. There's not another move that's super close to kissing, although I will teach you some in a minute that are kind of close that help you get there. And so it does have to be a little more of an overt move. Okay, but generally you're going to use the same principles as you did with all physical escalation. Which brings me back again to the first point of physical escalation, which is just go for it, okay? I'm gonna reiterate this again, times 10 with kissing. I have never, ever, ever lost a girl by going for the kiss. It has not happened in all my years of dating experience, but I've lost many, many girls by not going for the kiss. I've lost many girls by letting it be too platonic, letting the opportunity pass, etc., especially when I was first learning. Okay, in fact, I was so bad when I was first learning, it took me 9 months of dating and dating pretty continually to kiss my first girl. The first girl I kissed, I actually slept with because she had to like me that much in order to kiss me. All right, so, and this was as a virgin, so you can get where I was going with that. Okay, so let's talk specifically about the kiss. All right, you need to go for it. Understand this, she will respect you for trying, okay? And to make this point a little clearer, I want to ask you, what is the purpose of kissing? What is the purpose of kissing? Is it for your lips to touch hers? And I would say no. The purpose of kissing is to convey a message. And what you're conveying to her is that you are the type of guy that will try to kiss her. Because think of this. If you're talking, you try and kiss, she is not receptive or the kiss doesn't come off, and then you continue talking and she stays there and interacts with you, she's now staying there and interacting with you as the guy who tried to kiss her, which means you still succeeded in making it a man-to-woman interaction, conveying that vibe, and continuing the interaction, which is all you really need to go for. The kiss itself doesn't matter. What matters is the message signaled by the kiss. So for that reason, there's no such thing as a failed kiss. Either way, you conveyed the message. Understand that going in, and you'll have much less nervousness about going for the kiss, and actually you'll go for it in a much, much, much smoother way. All right, let's get a little more specific about the theory of the kiss. The first thing that's super, super, super critical in the kiss is what I call transference of emotions or transference of buying temperature. So the idea here is if you want someone to feel something in an interaction, you should feel that thing first. For example, if I want you to feel really, really frantic, if I start talking really, really fast like this, it's going to make you feel really, really frantic. It might make you like less relaxed. It might make you kind of hyper and think like kind of nervous things. On the other hand, if I speak very slowly, I'm kind of relaxed, take a deep breath, you're going to become more relaxed yourself listening. All right, and that's because human beings are constantly pinging off each other, constantly reacting to each other. So whatever energy you're putting out, other people are going to respond to. So if you are bored or platonic in your energy, the girl's going to be bored and platonic, and you have a boring platonic interaction. If you get a little bit aroused instead, if you allow yourself to admire the girl and think of her as a sexual object a little bit, and like maybe even imagine yourself sleeping with her, or like imagine her naked a little bit as you're talking to her, that's going to get you in a state of physical arousal. When you get yourself into a state of physical arousal, the girl's choices basically are follow you into that state of physical arousal, do something really awkward, or leave. And of those three choices, if the interaction's been going well, she's going to much prefer to follow you into that state of physical arousal, so she'll become aroused as well. Okay, it's very, very important. It's very hard to arouse a girl, kiss a girl, sleep with a girl if you're not getting sexually turned on. Okay, so allow yourself that privilege. Don't think of a girl as this sort of like divine non-sexual angel. Think of her in a little bit of a dirty way. Think of her in a way where you are objectifying her a little bit, you're imagining having sex with her, and that's okay, all right? Remember, key phrasing game. I make no apologies for my desires as a man. The next thing that's going to go along with this physical arousal is what I call the phase shift. And this is basically when you decide to make that transition to becoming physically aroused, becoming like kind of projecting that sense of it's time for us to kiss, it's time for this to be romantic, it's time for it to go somewhere. And the phase shift basically is that moment you decide, and it can be over time, but a lot of times you can just it's like throwing a switch. You just decide, I've decided to be physically aroused right now, and you change. And so you're talking, you have a normal conversation, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, you, come here. We've talked a lot. We've talked too much. Come here, right? And you just make that decision that you're going to fundamentally change the tone of the conversation. And again, if you fundamentally change the tone, she has the choice to go with you, be super awkward, or leave. So if things have been going well, if she already likes you, she's gonna make the decision to go with you. Remember also, girls like sex a lot. Girls want sex probably more than we do, but they can't go after it without feeling slutty, and girls like being led. So by phase shifting, you're helping them with all these things. You're helping them to have a sexual experience. You're helping them to have the burden off their shoulders and not feel slutty, and you are leading, okay? So in and of itself, the phase shift is extremely powerful. And you just need to make that strong decision, decide you're gonna go for it. And probably like 95% of the times when you go for the phase shift, you're going to just make that strong decision. You're gonna hold that frame of being sensual and sexual until you get the kiss or you get at least some kind of really positive advance of some kind. Maybe one time in 20, maybe you miscalibrated, maybe something interrupts the situation, maybe something weird happens, then you're gonna break it off, back off, go back to normal conversation, and then at some later time, you're gonna need to phase shift again. Okay, so that'll happen every once in a while, but most of the time, the vast majority, you wanna hold that frame strong, continue through to the moment of the kiss or the moment of some other big escalation. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a kiss. Finally, in order to make your kissing go better, I wanna introduce an idea. It's an idea from sales, and it's called the trial close. Okay, so in sales, if you were, for example, selling a car, you wouldn't just list all the features and benefits of the car and then at the very end be like, so would you like to buy the car? Because that's very abrupt, it's very sudden, and you haven't gotten any feedback along the way. You haven't taken them through a closing process. You haven't taken them in their minds down the road of sort of picturing how things could be and emotionally getting ready to be sold on something, all right? So instead, you might say, okay, so we currently have it in stock in black, blue, red, and white. Actually, of those colors, like just if you were to get it, what colors do you think you might like? Just so I can check and see if we have that model precisely. Does that make sense? So, and then you obviously you feel like a dick if you like won't tell the guy your favorite color. Like, well, I like red. But by saying I like red, you're getting one step closer to buying the car, right? So you're kind of indicating that if it were in red, you might be willing to buy it. Right, it's the same kind of thing with the girl and with various things. So when I'm going for a kiss, what I will do is I'll do potentially little trial closes along the way to the kiss. One is reach out the hand and like pull her in towards me and see if she comes towards me. If she comes towards me, that's maybe a positive indicator for the kiss. Another one I really like is like brush the girl's like the hair out of the face. And that's a really good indicator because if you reach out for the girl's hair and she goes like this, she's obviously not ready to be kissed. But if she's receptive and you brush it back past the ear and she seems positive on that, you can even reach back, grab the hair, give her a little hair pull. If you can do that, she's almost certainly receptive to the kiss. One other really good one that I like as a trial close is to kind of go whisper in her ear. And as you whisper in her ear, you pull your face back against hers and you see how she reacts. And if she doesn't pull her face away or if she even nuzzles her face closer, she's probably ready to be kissed. You could even pull back and kiss her right there. What I typically do in that case is I typically pull back to the point she knows I could kiss her and then I pull away and don't because I find that maintains the sexual tension even more than actually kissing her would. But again, it's a trial close. It's a way of knowing where you're at, knowing what you can get away with, okay? So these are all very, very useful in going about getting the kiss as well.